in a few moments. Grace Blackeley is economist and writer at Tribune, the socialist magazine. Afternoon to you, Grace. Good to have you with us again. So short-term answer, tax rich old duffers. Is that the way forward?
Good afternoon. It's great to be here. I think the kind of slightly more nuanced argument that we need to have in this conversation is to just look at the ways in which government policy has actively kind of supplemented or increased the wealth of those at the very top of the income spectrum over the course of the pandemic and actually over the course of the last 10 years. And the most obvious way that this has happened has been through the Bank of England's quantitative easing policy. Now, to kind of put this in quite general terms, what the Bank of England has done is created new money, new electronic money, and it's used that money to purchase assets from the private sector, often government bonds, but also some other assets. And what that's done is basically kind of channeled a load of money into financial markets. That was what it was intended to do. And in the process, it has pushed up asset prices across the board. So this is why, for example, house prices haven't fallen as much as you might have expected, both after the financial crisis and during the pandemic as well. And it's also why share prices have held up so strongly in both the US and the UK and many other advanced economies as well.
So that's a deliberate ploy, right? That's a deliberate, and it may be the right thing, some people will argue, of course, but that's not accidental, that share prices have held, property prices have held because of the way that the bank has funneled that money in.
Yeah, and I mean, this all has to do really with the kind of the way in which the Bank of England interprets its mandate to promote financial stability and control inflation. And what we've really seen is that it's been left up to the Bank of England because of the way that government policy has really, not been used to boost economic growth, because we've had this long-term policy of austerity. So it's really been left up to the Bank of England to try and simultaneously promote growth to boost inflation, but also protect this idea of financial stability that it has as well. And the way it's done that is to say, right, well, the economy is going to be better off if share prices are higher, if asset prices are higher, and that wealth will eventually kind of trickle down because people will spend more as a result. Now, that's very controversial, and some people will say that that's not actually the explicit reasoning of the Bank of England, but it's certainly been one of the results. So basically what we've seen is the state supporting the wealth of those at the very top in the hope that that wealth will eventually trickle down to those at the bottom.
Yeah, but when we say the very top, though, I mean, it's interesting that there are, and I'm not talking about, the Russian oligarch with multi-billions of pounds. I mean, let's just take somebody who's, a very successful lawyer, for example, or a successful economist who's earning a six-figured salary, but, they're not running, they don't own a big property empire. They're on 300,000 quid a year, which is huge money, of course. They're in the 1% by definition of that, and they pay an awful lot of taxes. Should somebody like that be paying more? Because they're already paying for, between them, 25-30% of the central pot.
Well, I think what you've done there is you've taken this idea that most people associate with taxes, which is income. So most people think that, people on higher incomes will pay higher taxes. Yeah. And broadly speaking, that is true, because income tax and national insurance tax are really, hold up the vast weight of government revenues. Other taxes are much, much smaller. What we're really talking about here, though, as we've mentioned, is wealth. And so you could be earning not very much money and have a lot of wealth. And equally, you could have a lot of income and a lot of wealth on top of that. Now, in that second category, what you'll find is that people's income will be taxed relatively highly, but their wealth perhaps won't be taxed as much. And that's through lots of different kinds of tax, from dividends tax to capital gains tax, etc. And the problem there that we have actually seen in recent years is that it therefore gives people an incentive to disguise income as wealth. And that's actually been a big reason why we've been underestimating the extent of inequality in recent years, is because we've only been looking at incomes, and people have actually been like, right, well, I'm going to kind of try to disguise this income as well so I can pay less tax on it. And it also means that various different forms of capital gain that actually not only kind of increase your living standard, but actually provide you with quite a lot of economic and political power. If you've got a lot of shares, and you're able to kind of exercise voice over how those companies are working, that's a lot of economic power. If you've got a lot of property, that's a lot of economic power. And these things aren't really accounted for in the way that we organise the tax system. It's really kind of not fit for purpose.
So it's the wealth component that is perhaps of more interest. But let's put it this way, Grace. You get a call tomorrow morning from Rishi Sunak's office saying, we've looked at the books, we're trying to make this work. we can't make it work. Get Blackeley on the case. They send a car round to yours. You pitch up over there at the Treasury. What's the first piece of advice for Rishi Sunak?
Oh my goodness. Right. Well, I mean, I think
he says, "Come on, Grace, it's up to you. The first thing I'm going to say at the dispatch box will be your words said by me." What should Rishi Sunak do that you think would be fair, reasonable, and begin the process of getting us out of this multi-trillion-pound mess?
Yeah, I mean, I think we should be facing this crisis with a kind of vision as to what we want the future of the economy to be like, because crises are always moments when, economics and politics changes quite substantially. For me, if I was standing there, I would be saying we are faced with a succession of profound, deep crises to the way we organize society. One of those is the pandemic. The other one is, of course, global warming and climate breakdown. And another one is rising inequality and the way in which that's affecting all different areas of life. And, the British state, as we emerge from this crisis, is going to use its power to solve all of these issues together through a big program of investment that creates jobs, that boosts employment, that decarbonizes our economy and reduces inequality. Ultimately, that makes the economy bigger, stronger, and fairer over the long term, so that we're protecting future generations from all the crises that are being created today.